The term little Aussie battler, sometimes it's a little overworked. But if ever we had a team of Aussie sporting battlers, it's our boys who hope to represent us in the bobsled event at the Winter Olympics in Calgary next year. They'll be up against the world's best, the Germans, the Russians and the Swiss. But they're certainly giving it their best with a preparation that really has to be seen to be believed.
The tunnel, total concentration right here. All he's thinking of, attack the course and be absolutely precise.
The Swiss have dominated the four-man championship since 1924. They've won it 14 times. He wants number 15, and he wants to take it from the East German.
They call it sliding.
Last curve, he'll finish in 1:03.61. It'll put him
A bobsled run is really very simple. Four men jump into a sled weighing 370 kilos and barrel down an ice tunnel at about 160 k for 1,200 metres, pulling maybe 8G on the corners, and less than a minute later, it's all over. Hopefully, with everyone and everything intact. In Europe, very rich people go to very expensive winter resorts and pay lots of money to do this. Athletes with national backing and wealthy sponsors do it, and so do four young Australians who are neither rich nor sponsored. It's a long way from the ice runs of Europe to the car park of a suburban shopping centre in Sydney. And when you think of car parks of suburban shopping centres, you think of the lady in the Volvo who backed into your Toyota the other day. And I always think of these things, these rotten trolleys, and I always get the one with the wobbly wheel. But I tell you what, when you think of suburban shopping centres and car parks and wheels, you don't think of this.
1, 2, 3.
And this is the Australian four-man bobsled team practising for next year's Winter Olympics in Calgary. If they get picked, they'll be our first ever bobsled team to compete in the Olympics. The key to getting there and being in the hunt is the race start. A 5-second shove, and this homemade bogey is what they use.
It's a bit of a unique way of that we've developed for training. We've got the sled and we simulate the push starts as best we can, and you know, it's what we've got, so it's what we take.
And the start, I mean, the start really is the end, because a tenth of a second and you're out of business.
If we've had a bad start through uncoordination or a slip or something like that, we can kiss the race goodbye. We know we've got to be spot on for four runs to be a chance of winning a race. We spend so much time practicing the start because it is vitally important. If you don't get the start right, you've got no chance of winning the race.
Their race is on. Four young fellows who want to take on the mighty Swiss, Germans and Russians, and the Canadians and the Americans. Angus Stuart is a commerce student at Wollongong University. Simon Todd is a psychology student. Steve Craig is a bank teller with Westpac. And Adrian de Piazza is a quantity surveyor. He's a winter sports nut, Adrian. He loves it all, and is a regular number 7 with the Macquarie Bears ice hockey team. He saw bobsledding on television during the 1980 Winter Olympics, got the hots about it, saved up his money and headed for the youth hostels of Europe.
Went into St. Moritz, and they've got tourist bobs there where you pay your $50 and they take you down on the track and they give you a certificate and a photo. And that's where it all started.
Can you remember that very first run? I mean, was it worth $50?
Yeah, it was. It's worth $500. It's the first run. There's amazing adrenaline flow. Just the intensity, the sheer, you get out of the sled, you're white, your legs are wobbling, but it's a tremendously satisfactory feeling.
Look, I'm one of those guys, if I go on the Big Dipper at Luna Park, it's almost a change of underpants when I get off. What's it like tearing down the slopes on one of these?
It's fast and it's rough and it's very dangerous. You're riding a knife edge all the way down. You know, you're just basically flying within the confines of an ice tunnel. Going into corners, coming out of corners, taking bumps down the straights, which is always pretty dangerous. Some parts of the ice are nice and slick, other parts are chewed up, and there's always the G-forces on the corners. Some corners are light G-forces, other corners you're pulling up to 8 Gs, and to be in control of a half-ton missile at up to 160 k's an hour, you know, with all those forces, what you've got to be able to react to.
Another bizarre thing about this sport is that the three fellas behind you, you're the driver, they don't see anything.
No, once the start has been affected and the three crewmen have loaded, they've basically got their head down. They know the track back the front. They know all the corners. They could tell you what, at any part of the track, what part they're in. Their job is very real. It looks like they're just sitting in the back having a good time, but no, their job is very real also.
How dangerous is it?
It is a dangerous sport. There has been deaths in the sport. And I suppose accidents happen in this sport a little more often than we'd like them to happen, but you know, you put all that aside and yeah, it is dangerous, but you don't worry about the danger aspect.
This is really the only sponsorship these blokes have. Free use of the Healthlands Gym in North Sydney. A place to build up the muscles and reactions for that all-important explosive start. The 5 seconds that make or break a bobsled race. And from here, it's back out to that car park early mornings and Sundays when there are no shoppers. There's no backup, no sponsors, no coaches, and no girlfriends.
Well, I take my hat off to you. You got me beat. You're the youngest team of all. You've given up everything, particularly girlfriends. For what? For 49 seconds with your head up each other's backside, seeing nothing, tearing down a bobsled.
Yeah, you know, we're fairly young. Our average age of the team is 21. That, you know, it's something that we've decided, well, we're going to give it a go and we've got to give it our best shot. And sure, if we've got to give away girlfriends to dedicate all our time to this, well, you know, so be it.
There's something very Australian about this, something a young barrel batsman would recognise, something an Aboriginal girl from Barellan would understand. And if Don Bradman and Yvonne Cawley could become world beaters, why not these blokes? From Carpark to Calgary.
Amazing story that. When our Winter Olympic officials told me, I found it hard to believe. They haven't got a sponsor. I think they deserve one. And they're off to Europe paying everything for the next 3 months to try and improve their efforts. They finished 30th, I think, out of 38 in the last World Championships, and they were very proud of that too.
Yeah, I can imagine it getting them, though. I think it would be a very exciting thing to do. I'd probably only like to do it once, but it does look like it, you know, there would be a lot of excitement.
It'd be a lot of fun, wouldn't there? A lot of noise, and the old pump would be going nice and quick.
Yes, very quick. Not everybody, you know, starts out with their girlfriends at 14 or 15 like you, kiddo. There's some blokes who, you know, they start late.
Yeah.